Everybody, let me just make sure that I have this cleaned up here. We are going on multiple platforms right now. We've got TikTok, we've got Instagram, we've got podcast, we have YouTube for the replay, and all of this here to show up for our weekly Safehouse Q&A. So if you don't know what Safehouse is the occult business school that my husband and I run together. It's equal part faith and equal parts work, aka equal parts magic and equal parts business. We show you how you always have to work these two together. And one of our core values, I would say the core value that we have at our school, is the same as our unschooling philosophy, which is that the best education is offered in response. It's not pre-scripted. It's not written out in advance. It's not saying you need to know this. It's in response to something that somebody wants to learn. So, an absolute pillar of our business is every question answered. Now, if you do not have this as a pillar of your business, lucky you, because it's very easy to scale a school when you say, okay, well, I do Q&A once a week. And I show up and I'm here for an hour and a half. When if you get your questions in, lucky you. It's very easy to scale that because no matter what, you're only ever there for an hour and a half. But as we go from 300 students to 900 students, while still retaining this core value that every question needs to be answered because the best education is in response, we're having to just navigate a lot of things. So I spent this last week creating a massive FAQ. We did ritual first. 40 lessons, FAQ for every single lesson. And we know what the FAQ is because we've been answering them all this last year. 5 questions per lesson. So, 5 times 40. Y'all can do the math on that because I can't even math and tell you how old I am. I can only tell you that I was born in 1987. So we're also constantly trying to innovate and really give the people what we want, what they want. We did a couple polls last year, like 2 back to back, on if our students would prefer to have Q&A live in a group setting like this, or if they would rather have a voice memo response directly to them. And the overwhelming majority, it was 70-30 the first time, and it was 80-20 the second time. Everybody would prefer to have an individual voice memo response. And this is really on brand for us because we try to avoid group things as much as possible at this school. It's the same way where, like, if you were going to any school, if you were going, or ideally, like if you were going to college, something that you had selected based on your parents' expectations of you, that it wouldn't really matter. You wouldn't have to go and sit in on every grade's Q&A, that it's really tailored to you, that you're taking a unique combination of classes that is tailored to you, and you never have to sit through one size fits all, like group sessions. In addition to that, we have the majority of our students are scaling their businesses. And so they're busy, especially after they've been at school for 2, 3 months. Like, they are busy, they are getting things done. And to budget an entire, hour and a half to wait in line for their answer is just a completely unreasonable request for anybody that has shit to do. But we still had that 20%. We still had that 30% that was like, I just love listening to all the Q&A live. I just love being able to clean my house and get this, hear so many different topics brought up. And you can really see what a teacher is made of through Q&A. Like, anybody can come and be charismatic for an hour on something they want to talk about, but to be able to off the cuff just talk about whatever, whenever, this is really where you can see what a teacher is made up of. So we're going to be attempting to do both today. This is our second time. We had a little rough draft when I was in the airport. waiting to get on my flight to just see if this was something that I can do. But we're going to see if I can talk to y'all here on the podcast and live for all of the people that want to listen to a replay, as well as give voice memo responses to the people in the chat. So, shall we go for it? Let's see what we can do here. All right. So, the first question: do you have any advice for gate two being in my Jupiter spot on human design? If you're new to human design, your Jupiter spot is your greatest money key and your greatest money block. When it's aligned, your greatest money key. When it's misaligned, it's your greatest money block. This is your conscious Jupiter. So, what you would see on the right-hand side of your chart. I've been researching it, but I don't know how I apply that to business. Your example for you and your hubby you gave in the ritual makes so much sense, but I can't seem to wrap my head around it for myself. So I know that this person got her question from the ritual. In fact, lest I tell you guys, I can't look up anyone's gates for you because there's literally like 64 gates. But what I always do is go to christyinga.com and just put in, like gate two, Christy Inga. But since you're a manifester and you like the information, and this is the first time you've ever asked me, I'm going to go ahead and do this one for you. Gate two is all about the balancing of the masculine and the feminine. So the balancing of the masculine and the feminine is the same as the balancing of faith and works. The feminine is the ability to receive, and the masculine is the ability to do. So if this was balanced in business, you would build a perfect sales funnel, but then you would trust in the magnetism of your well-designed content to make people want to pay you without having to do like crazy scarcity tactics or being weird. It's this combination of putting in the right amount. Whoops, my little voice memo paused for her. It's the combination of putting in the right amount of work, but also trusting that your results are a gift from your efforts. So it's really knowing when to effort and when to surrender. And if you watch the masterclass on like black, white, and red magic, the Enneagram tells us exactly when to effort and when to surrender. But the short answer on that is for the first two-thirds of your journey, when you're developing the product and going through the customer limitations. Ooh, this voice memo thing isn't going. So what, well, this one keeps pausing, but if it keeps getting messed up, I'll just have to turn one of my live streams off and be able to do it. Um, but it's the first two-thirds of every journey is about the product development, your product intention, how much you want to do on the product, and then all of the customer limitations, their time, their money, all of this, all of these different, budgets that are in play. And that's when we really want to put in our effort. But ultimately, once the product is done, we're not negotiating on the price, we're not negotiating on the offering. It's time to surrender and receive. So that product development also includes your launch strategy, your content strategy. It's quite a lot of work, it's quite a lot of effort. But you have to know when it's time to surrender. You have to know when it's time to stop tweaking the product. You also have to know when it's time to close the launch. You have to know when there's no more one-on-one clients in your audience right now and move on to something else. So these are things that we cover in the Enneagram as well. So you are really here to embody what it means to be balanced in the masculine and the feminine. Something interesting is that the Orisha of the ocean in Ifa, which is a Nigerian, is the root of all Yoruba religions. Beautiful, beautiful practice. But Yemaya, the goddess of the ocean, has like the greatest money-making capacity. But what a lot of people don't know about Yemaya is that Yemaya is actually like masculine and feminine. At the top of the ocean is Yemaya, who's very sweet, who's very loving, the mother to all, the great giver, the great lover. She's got long breasts because she's had so many children. But then that's not the only part of who she is. At the depths of the ocean, its own Orisha, Olokun. And Olokun was originally Yemaya's husband, and he was like, "You can't practice magic. You can't do this," because actually that was the way it was, and he fought for so long. Um, at the bottom is this very shrewd, very controlling, very hard, very stubborn, very it's giving sea goat energy. It's giving beautiful. We've got the beautiful And the flowing at the top, we've got this wonderful, like beautiful mama, but then at the bottom is like this very shrewd businessman. And both of these things make up the ocean. The ocean controls 70% of the earth, but never flaunts it. You know, if you drop an empty can, it makes a lot of noise. But if you drop a full can, it hardly makes any sound at all. This is because people that have power don't need to flaunt it all the time. They don't need to be rattling about their achievements all the time. So, this is really for you if you have gate two as your conscious Jupiter. Your greatest money key is going to be understanding that it's got to be a balance of faith and works at all times in equal measure, a balance of effort and surrender. And your biggest money block is veering too much into hopeful thinking or too much into strategic thinking. Think about the yin yang, it's got to look like that all the time. All right, cool. So let's see. I think that we're doing this okay. My thumb, when I'm done with the voice memo, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Princess Mononoke, but when like Ashitaka is like pushing the heavy door open while carrying Sun, and he's just like bleeding, from his head, and the blood's like dripping on the floor. This is how my thumb feels after sending a voice memo. All right, next question. Hi, I'm doing wheels right now. In the trauma process, you say to turn the feeling up to a 10. When I try to do this, the feeling disappears and I can't find any childhood memories. I'm getting pretty frustrated. Do you recommend having another person to do the process with to make it easier? So thank you so much for your question. There is nothing I teach, period, that's going to recommend that you need another person to make this happen. Now, if you find that every time you try to turn the feeling up to a 10, it disappears, don't try to turn the feeling up to a 10. Now, what you need to do is stay with the feeling. For those of you that have come here from soft white underbelly, when was the first time you felt this way? You need to stay with that feeling. And it's easier to stay with the feeling once you've gotten a good look at it. And how we get a good look at it in this process is by animating it. We describe it. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How would you draw it? So anytime it feels like you're losing that feeling, you just need to come back and look at that feeling. You need to look at that feeling as if it's like a character. And if you keep returning to the feeling and get rid of anything that's making you lose it, you will get to the root of it. But for some people, especially generators and manifesting generators, you are one. Um, you sometimes need to just discipline yourself and say, I'm not getting up from the seat until I get my answer. And I'm going to go with the first thing that I see, provided it's like an early memory. If you get a memory that's 13, 14, say, good, I honor this feeling has come with me multiple times. When was the very first time I felt this way? All right, cool. So, you know what I think is, if you guys just wouldn't mind, bear with me here for a second, I'll pause this. Right, next question. Oh, I like this lady a lot. Well, I mean, I like all ladies a lot, but I like her username a lot. I think it's very cool. This person's username is, can't tell you because everybody is secret here. Hi, Onami. Here are the courses we texted about. Often I sell a bunch when a random client posts them on a group somewhere. When I get in front of people, they sell, but I can't manage to figure out getting eyes on them. I have only one major competitor who offers similar but more mainstream bent. She makes millions solving the same problem with evergreen courses. I can't run this as a live or group as I've learned through 10 years of my own trials, hearing from others in the biz, and polling my kids that they do not want their option. I'm going to have to take some time to really look into this because I think so. Let me just tell my queen here. Hey, my love, I've got to be honest with you. I've got 300 students. I have no idea what we were texting about. So do me a favor if you're getting this right now while we're still checking Q&A, do me a favor and just put a screenshot of where we left this because I can't go over to the other channel right now and see, because I don't even remember where we were talking last. So anytime we're resuming a conversation, just do me a favor and put a screenshot in of what it was that we're talking about. If I don't catch you today, the first place you can catch me is Enneagram Q&A and Enneagram homework checks. just put a screenshot of what we were talking about before because, I remember your username, but I have no idea what we're talking about here. All right, thank you. 300 student life, baby. Gotta give me the context. It's actually more than, so we thought this whole year that we had 300 students, but actually we have 400 students. And I think that that's really cool because I know what's going on with most of them. As long as you give me a screenshot for context, I can remember what we were talking about before. All right. Do you have a recommendation for an active meditation or something for after ritual that helps me get out of my head? I'm on day 33, and when I find I made a mistake in work or I'm working on something complicated, I get stuck trying to deal with it mentally. Working out hasn't done the same thing for me as a Kriya, and I'm hoping there's something that maybe isn't specifically magic that I can physically do to help release some of what I cook up in my head. The because I knows are helpful, but I need a physical thing. I think I do walk or exercise daily. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. So the thing about Kundalini yoga is that Kundalini yoga keeps like all the different centers of your mind busy, and the ritual is a combination of Kundalini and Tantra. So what it does is, there's something you're doing with your breath, you're doing a mantra, you're just very busy. You're doing something with your body and your mind is focused on a certain thing. So everything is forced to be busy. A really nice follow-up for this Kriya, and you can see this in the Kundalini FAQ, is I love the Kriya for becoming enchantingly beautiful. It's so fun. It's another one of those Kriyas that's like you know, 5 3-minute intervals, so really doable, but also like core focus. But Kundalini might just be a fit for you. We only do Kundalini yoga, this little bit in ritual, and it's so heavily modified. We really make it our own. But if you find that it works for you, it really works for a lot of people, especially people that have really busy minds. So that's the deal with that. How are you guys doing on here? TikTok, I feel like I haven't seen you so long. Hey, can you talk on schizophrenia? It runs in my family and I'm showing some symptoms. Yeah, you need to watch the amount of input that you're taking. You probably, when knowledge exceeds understanding, it becomes imagination. Schizophrenia is the inability to differentiate what's happening for real than what's happening within you. And then schizophrenia, from a spiritual perspective, is actually like a rite of passage. It's the split. Schizo means split, phren means mind. Schizo is a split between thinking, personality, memory, and perception. So, whose thoughts are these? Whose memories are these? Who is this? And what am I seeing? And this is actually like the first step to enlightenment because when all of these things fall away, it's like, okay, so who are you without your thinking, personality, memory, and perception? Because when you connect with that and you start behaving from that and operating from that, that which is not your thinking, personality, memory, and perception, that's enlightenment. So schizophrenia is like a rite of passage, and in Eastern schools, they always hold space for that. We talk about this ad infinitum in the Anya chakra of Wheels Reinvented. If you want to know more about this on TikTok specifically, please go to the playlist called Chakra Tour and all of the posts about like spiritual psychosis, Anya chakra, Sahasrara chakra. All of this will be super helpful for you. But basically, you're going to be like predisposed to a lot of paranoia about schizophrenia simply because it runs in your family. So you're going to be like always taking your temperature. Am I feeling schizophrenic today? Am I feeling normal today? And the best thing that you can do is just stop taking in information about schizophrenia and start looking for balance, start looking for evidence of like how balanced you are. So basically, if any fucking TikTok comes up ever about mental health, don't watch it. Don't watch anything about what you're dying nonsense. Maybe don't like, you need to get rid of this information. You need, because it's literally starting to make you feel crazy. The TikTok algorithm is really interesting. Like when I go to my TikTok algorithm, the first thing I'll see is like a happy mom of a newborn and then like a dead newborn. And then it's like a post about like a mom crying about how like overwhelmed she is and how moms need more mental health support, which is like the most toxic messaging. Like you can figure if you're not sitting on your phone all fucking day reading mental health shit, then it's pretty easy to care for your mental health alongside your kids. There's a lot of rest moments with kids where you can care for your mental health if you have any sort of boundaries about what you do with your free time. But if you're constantly taking your temperature, did I get my 2 hours of self-care a day? Moms don't get 2 hours of self-care. That's not how it fucking works. And that's not how it like needs to work either. If I can run a full-fledged fucking business by myself without additional childcare, without school, without a house cleaner, without a cook, and without my husband doing more childcare than me, and I have been doing it this whole time, you can figure out how to care for your mental health when you're not responsible for the bills. But the TikTok algorithm doesn't care about this. So then I get the crying post about, oh, my mom, my baby, my 17 diapers story. Then the next post is about mom's mental health. And then the next post is a fucking news clipping about a mom that stabs three children. So the pipeline on my algorithm is like, hey, you're a mom. Did you know that you might be susceptible to postpartum psychosis? Hope you don't stab your kids. It's a very sneaky algorithm. It's a very sneaky algorithm. And so once you go down the mental health talk, imagine, so like, look, let's be real. Let's go like loyal to the foil here. TikTok isn't allowed in China. Instagram's not allowed in China. Like they don't allow American apps there. So what advantage, if we live in the era of the propaganda war, what advantage would TikTok have over the American people? What would be like the sneakiest, most subversive way to control the American people? What if they don't trust their minds? What if they don't trust their bodies? And what if they don't trust what they see? And what if all of this, so many people have found their diagnosis on TikTok? So many people identify as new shades of mental illness. Did you know I check the boxes for all of this? Any autism, ADHD, PDA, BPD, all of this stuff. Check, 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 check. And this is old news. You guys never heard that Radio Lab about the psychopath test? Like the psychopath test, and they had everybody at NPR take it, and everybody was a psychopath. It's like it's very hard to diagnose these things. And now people are getting interested in self-diagnosis and then bopping around through their better health therapists till they find somebody that'll be like, yeah, you have the same diagnosis that you think you do. So constantly self-diagnosing yourself as being these different shades of mentally ill. Huge problem. So if you don't trust your mind and you don't trust your body and you don't trust what you see, like what do you trust? There's a lot of trust in TikTok, which now oddly has itself positioned as like your loving big sister that helped you start your business and helped you understand how sick you really were. Eyes open, everybody. We live in the propaganda era. You don't know what you're an agent of. You don't know what you're an agent of. I think the best thing for the majority of people is to get this mental health conversation out of their head, because if you look at the statistics, this mental health conversation has resulted in a massive increase of mental illness. Eyes open. So stop taking in this mental health stuff, especially around schizophrenia, because you're already going to be so paranoid about it. Oh my God, am I going to shoot myself like my grandfather did? No, you'll be fine. They didn't know what was going on. I just told you what was going on. So you'll be all right. You'll be all right. The last thing you want to do is be like, am I feeling normal today? All right, I love this. So this is a question I get all the time. And I definitely have this in FAQ somewhere. Hello, human design question on Observer Observe. This is if you should have a faceless brand or not. I've noticed something about Observe, that it's like their business couldn't exist without them. You know what I mean? Like they are the brand. Unlike observers, lots of them use a lot of visual slides, etc. And by looking at Skims by KK, if you go to the website, you barely see Kim. Have you found this to be true? It's so interesting. So a lot of what we talk about on Fuckless is running a personal brand. So a personal brand is always going to have its own rules. The thing is that we could say that if we go and look at Skims by KK, there's hardly any Kim, but this is only partially true. I would say we see Kim about 50% of the time. Kim is here to be an observer, but she's like the single most observed person in the world. A really good example that like you don't have to, HD isn't the Bible, but it can definitely help you to find a content strategy that feels a lot more natural to you, that feels very easy and fun for you. So we talk a lot about like personal brands on Fuckless. And if you don't have a personal brand, like a personal brand is like better than a 401k because it's always going to move and grow with you and it can branch out into many different brands. For example, Skims would never exist if it wasn't for the personal brand of Kim. Now, Kourtney Kardashian is here to be observed. And if we look at Lemmy, we would say that Lemmy is hardly has her in it at all, except for when it comes to a product launch. So I think there's evidence on both sides. But it's not like it's a lot easier to sell a faceless brand. It's easier to sell a faceless brand than it is to sell a brand that has your face attached to it. But when it's your personal brand, you don't really want to sell it, period. And I know a lot of people that buy other audiences. I know a lot of people that buy different companies and stuff. I think, especially when it comes to buying a social media following, that it doesn't have the same appeal as it used to because it's really hard to transition audiences. So that's what I think about that. If you want to know if you're here to have a faceless brand or not, just go and look at my reels. If you're on Safehouse, you can go to business resources and you'll see this. But just go to my reels right before we left to Paris. I did one about like, are you supposed to have a faceless brand or not? Or should you just like get over yourself? Hi, mommy. Where can I learn about food and digestion? And the fourth way I was listening to your podcast, and I loved hearing about the digestion process going through the ray of creation. Thank you. So, yeah, the digestion process is actually going through an octave, most specifically the food octave, which is not the ray of creation. The ray of creation is how the law of octaves is connected to the cosmology being the study of the universe that backs up the study of the fourth way. But we did a whole episode on the food octave. It's really like one of my favorite ones. That's in School of Unified Spiritual Laws. You can just look through the lessons. School of Unified Spiritual Laws and Empress are the only two workshops in our catalog that aren't backed by an Enneagram, which means that you can take that. You don't have to commit to the whole process. You can kind of take them bite by bite. And the food octave one is a really interesting one because we talk about, it's like you can eat, the body eats in three different ways. We eat food, we eat breath, and we eat impressions, and they're finer substances. So, like the same way that you can't think if you're too hungry, but a cheeseburger doesn't feed your brain, there's something that happens where the food goes from coarse to fine. But then there's also ways that we feed ourselves directly. So, for example, air. Impressions directly feed the brain, but a lot of us are taking in more impressions than ever before because before you would only take in impressions from other people, the newspapers, and books, which require more focus and scrolling on social media. But now we're taking in so many impressions that we've gotten really good at noticing within 3 seconds if we're interested in a piece of content or not. So we're taking in way more impressions, and this is impacting us because you see at the end of the day, when you're trying to go to sleep, all you're doing is replaying TikToks and stuff that you watched. Your mind is like starting because your mind is constipated. It's taken in so many impressions. And you're starting to believe that all those impressions are you. You're like, oh my God, I might have ADHD. So very inconvenient. But I loved this particular food octave episode on School of Unified Spiritual Laws. You can find it there because we talk about Fa 96, which is the principle of resilience and how you should never eat in a bad mood. And I just absolutely love that episode. So, yeah, School of Unified Spiritual Laws, you can see it there. That's the crash course in the fourth way. We have 3 fourth way workshops. So, the Enneagram is how to work the Enneagram. Mesoteric is an objective awakening process out of the exoteric into the mesoteric. and esoteric, but School of Unified Spiritual Laws is really just a crash course in the fourth way. And then the most advanced version of this is going to be my book, Yes, Master, which is about being seduced by Gurdjieff as a guru. And that will cover all of the lessons of School of Unified Spiritual Laws. But instead of, coming to class and hearing me teach them, you're going to be seduced by a guru. And this character that you're slowly starting to fall in love with, even though physically they're hideous. Well, to me, he's not hideous. It's about falling in love with somebody's mind. And this teacher character in the book that you're like, no, 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 don't go for this guy, is going to teach you slowly but surely a crash course in the fourth way, because it is a taste like no other, baby. It's esoteric physics. So if you're just like, if you love that really clear cut, like, well, this is just how it is. This is how the world works. There's no God. There's no hope. There's just these psychological tests that you do, and you go, oh my God, it's like all of these things that I've felt like you're suddenly explaining to me. I fucking love this workshop. And for those of you that are coming to be students on Safehouse for this year in 2025, we always kick off with the ritual, which is our money workshop. It's 40 days live. So it's really, really fun. There's a lot of energy. I'll probably go into labor during this course. But if you want something to kind of tide you over because you want to be a part of Ritual Live, it's a really, really good time to do School of Unified Spiritual Laws, because it's just like, it's tantalizing. It's so fun. All right. So happy Sunday. I'm looking for a homework check. Sure. Ritual day 34, become a TikTok shop affiliate. What's the intention? Get accepted into the TikTok shop. Okay. So first of all, TikTok shop, have you run the numbers on this? Have you literally run the numbers to see how much you would get paid if you sold this much? Because if you really do the math on this and you're like, if I sell 10 of these eyeshadows and one of them goes viral, I could make $500, or, whatever the math is. But if your personal brand is the most fucking valuable thing that you have, if you have an account that you're doing just for affiliate stuff, fine. See how popular that is. Sales are a seduction. People don't just want to, and like, come on, like a lot of the stuff that's on TikTok shop is crap. So if you position yourself, if you contaminate your personal brand with a bunch of products that you don't believe in because you think that this is where your paycheck is going to come from, and you haven't actually run the numbers on it, you are going to lose all credibility for your personal brand, all credibility. You're like, people are coming to you to build trust, to build connection. And you're like, I swear to God, this split end trimmer. I don't run ads for anything except for my own businesses. This is why we don't have an affiliate program anymore. There is no affiliate program that serves you more than the parent company. There is no affiliate program that serves you more than the parent company. And the risk of ruining your brand reputation could kill you're going to have to start a whole new account. So make sure the juice is worth the squeeze. How do you know the juice is worth the squeeze? You're on day 34 of Ritual. Run the fucking numbers, baby. What are you planning on selling on TikTok Shop? What's the commission that you get? How long does it take to get to you? If you're selling $10 products and your commission is 20%, you get $2. Now, how much content do you have to post to sell 10 of these products? Because the chances are you're agreeing to clog up your feed to make somebody else's business successful, and the paycheck you're getting is $20. So no. So no, I do not want to be. You can turn off co-host invitations. Yeah, I would definitely like to turn off. I'd like to turn off co-host invitations like forever. And I don't know how to do this, but co-host invitations are turned off. Well, why do they keep coming in? Yeah, I love you guys too. Okay, let's do some more Q&A. This is getting easier, figuring this out. Hi, mommy. Hello. I was having people comment on my videos saying, how do we fix it, et cetera? How now it's getting way worse. I'm having people say things along the side of you have to pay. Don't waste your time watching her masterclass. You have to pay for the program. And then I'm having people coach people in the comments on how to unblock the sacral, for example, in one of my videos. I don't know what to do, and people are really getting me down. So, first of all, nobody can steal your audience. Second of all, everybody, yeah, you have to pay for things. And what? Like, are you getting offended about this because you're like, no, do you think they're right that they shouldn't have to pay for it? Yeah, they have to pay. What are you, stupid? Yeah, you have to pay. Yeah, it took me a long time to learn this. Yeah, I spent thousands of dollars learning the things that I packed into here. Yeah, it's 2024. We all know that if you go to a webinar, you're going to get pitched ideally after 2000 years of commerce, if not more. We figured out that nothing's really free, right? But people coaching people in the comments on how to unblock the sacral, for example, people do this on my videos all the time, but nobody's following these people. They're following me. They want what I have. I don't live in a competitive world. I don't need to be the only person teaching. I tell people to steal everything they can from me. Fucking steal everything you can. If it's not bolted down to the floor, and spoiler alert, nothing's bolting down, nothing's bolted down to the floor. Steal anything that you want from my business and use it. People that need to hear it in my voice need to hear it in my voice. People that need to hear it in their voice need to hear it in their voice. Like, this is really not that big of a deal. If you had 500,000 followers, you wouldn't give two shits about this. But yeah, why is it getting down? Because you think it's, yeah, you of course you have to pay for it. Duh. Duh. But if you feel insecure when they say don't waste your time watching her masterclass, then next time you launch, you'll make stronger content. I completely blow my load, but I got a lot of load. I blow my load in launches. I give people so much. I give people one full step on a 10-step process. The entire step 09 decision making. My ebooks launch it out of the ballpark. My masterclasses launch it out of the ballpark. Like, not a problem. And if you want to show people, and like, I think that this is where people in early business get really stuck is they don't really trust the infinite wellspring of their own like teaching capacity. So they're like, oh my God, if I give people this, they won't buy this. Like, you can go pretty hard in your content. You can go pretty hard in your content, but don't worry about it. Yeah, it's for sale. There's nothing wrong with something being for sale. There's nothing wrong with someone being for sale. That's what I love about kicking off the year with ritual is that we just like any insecurity that you have about money, we just completely obliterate that so you can have a bang up sales year. I love ritual. I'm so excited about this. I have no idea how pregnant I am. So I have a feeling that like baby's gonna come very soon. I have no idea how pregnant I am though, for real. So we're gonna have to listen back to my customers and they'll be like, okay, mommy, these rambling voice memos. I'm really sorry. I you a voice memo response, but I was also talking to a big audience. Hey, mommy, when you were doing one-on-one work with clients, how did your marketing for these sessions look? I guess you weren't launching these as it's not a digital product, but rather as a service. Did you offer separate one-on-one sessions or like a bundle? I'm trying to structure a one-on-one offer right now, but I don't have a specific idea how to market them. In the past, I offered a free sales call where I would close people for a 500 one-on-one bundle, but I don't want to do these free sales calls anymore as it took me 5 hours of my day to do this. So you're just kind of outlining all the unsustainability issues when it comes to one-on-one. I haven't advertised one-on-one really at all. When I do, it's not more than like one or two posts because I just don't. The health of my business and the health of my life has improved so much when I stopped relying on one-on-one. Now, one-on-one customers are intuitive, which means that no sales tactic work on them. They're watching all of the posts that you're doing and they're waiting for the right moment. You do not get to tell them when the right moment is. You do not get to say, hey, it's the right moment because prices are doubling at midnight. They're watching everything that you do and just kind of waiting for your right moment to align with their right moment. I only put up the one-on-one application on my website a couple of weeks ago, and I've gotten so many applications already. And I can only do this for November, so I actually haven't even had a chance to like market one-on-one sessions. And I reject most of the applications because if somebody can get it done in school, like I would rather have people in school than one-on-one, but it's really just for people that have like established businesses that I actually kind of know already. And I'm like, oh yeah, I could help you fix that up. So the thing about one-on-one is that it's an intimacy thing. There's nothing you can say that you could do like a VSL, like a video sales letter. Hey, this is what to expect from me from one-on-one. But honestly, like that's kind of shit. I recommend looking at the Google Docs sales page, which you can get in Fuckless and also in business resources to give people something that they can look at before getting on a free sales call with you. It's super easy to put together, but ultimately, nobody's going to decide yes to work with you unless they have some type of experience of working with you. So I don't do free sessions at all. I actually haven't done free sessions since I think 2019. What I do offer people is a cheaper session that they can get on the phone with me if they're really that serious about it. But they're watching everything that you do. Every post that you make is a launch for your one-on-one. And you don't want to get caught in this trap of like really pushing one-on-one because it just doesn't work anyways. Even if you get a client from that, they're like a fucking nightmare. The one-on-one relationship is divine. So, but I've had so many different offers. I did one-on-one coaching for years. I still do one-on-one coaching, but the less I focused on one-on-one coaching, the better it got. You want to move to group like as soon as you possibly can. Good resource for this is developing your method using an Enneagram, all of the core offer work that we do in Fuckless, Fuckless in general, the full version, all of that real helpful. Don't do more than 2 workshops at a time. And if you need to talk to us about dropping one and picking up another, you know where to go. Just shoot us a text and we'll talk about adjusting your curriculum. Guidance counselors. Good day. Have you seen the New Zealand Maori haka going viral? Baby, to me, the New Zealand Maori hakas are always viral. Like, I will watch haka videos basically whenever. But did you know that Laziki is back? Laziki, my favorite YouTube channel of all time. Laziki is back after a long litigation. All right. This is a very long question. And because of this, okay, I'm going to have to ask this person, can you clarify the question? Because I think we're just talking about conscious Jupiter here, and I don't know what this is. Okay. Is there any way to safely and effectively lead people through any of the first 3 wheels processes in a group? Let's say 2 to 6 participants at a time. If so, what boundaries would you recommend putting in place to ensure everyone gets what they need out of it? I'm brainstorming ways to incorporate the trauma work in a prenatal group workshop. So the thing about that first process, and actually in the Wheels book, we really only ramp up that first process. That is very group safe. We talk a lot about how that's safe for a group. So that's like designed to be used on a group. The hardest part about it is just leaving it alone, not going in and rearranging other people's memories. You have to be really good at hearing a tragedy without trying to fix it. But yeah, they're literally just question prompts, and you can use that with a group so easily. And thank you for reminding me because I need to put an updated PDF of the final version of Wheels in that, and I got to put that on my Notion right now. Um, but something I also wanted you to take into consideration is like, doing trauma work while you're pregnant, I would keep that shit to a bare minimum because there's a lot going on emotionally. There's a lot going on hormonally. Like, I don't even have people do trauma work at like Christmas time because it's too much. Like, you want to batch all of your trauma work at a point where you're really like good to do it. I wouldn't try to go into root traumas with a prenatal group if I were you, because also it like works for everybody. A little bit here and there. What's your first memory with your mom? And you can unpack. And where do we talk about? I forget what case study call it is. I think it was maybe Manipura. Um, but where we talk about doing trauma work on a specific memory as opposed, so like your first memory with mom will unpack all your mom trauma, your first memory with money will unpack all your money trauma, first memory with alcohol, first memory with sex, like all of these things. Like I would do something really easy and I would not go into intense shadow work and I would not be work. I would seriously just make it so simple. One question that's way more loaded than people would give it credit for, but if it was me, I would not recommend taking a prenatal group through an objective clearing of the chakras because like believe me, motherhood will put them through. Motherhood is going to put them through it. Motherhood, you're seeing the full 360, yourself as a child, yourself as a parent, your mother as a child, your mother as a parent. Like it's for fucking real. So, just consider that. Just consider the audience. And, I'm not here to yuck your yum. If you see a vision forward for it, then, by all means, go forward. You're here to innovate. But that's how I would do it. Because you're going to have a very emotional group. And that's one of the hardest, that's one of the things that makes me happiest about Wheels going into book form is that it's a very emotional group. But if you have pregnant ladies doing it, you're going to have a very emotional group. You're going to be holding a lot of hands. So, set your boundaries nice and early, but understand that it's like setting boundaries with a baby. You can say these are my boundaries, but when they're crying because they stubbed their toe, it's like down come the walls, and that's important. So just know it. Do you make adjustments for neurodivergent brains living in overwhelm and freeze, or do you think it matters? No, it doesn't matter. We're all neurodivergent. Well, actually, that's not true. My son is a really good example of someone who's neurodivergent. So am I. My daughter is a really good example of somebody that's neurotypical, but like too much special treatment. Whoever's the most unreasonable person in the household is going to have the most power. So, like, look, we don't have to, everything doesn't have to be a special order. Humans were literally marketed the concept of individuality to get them to buy more products. Like this idea of like tailoring everything for your specific needs isn't something that occurred naturally as a result of like humanity progressing forward. This is something that came up as a way to sell more products. Individuality was literally marketed and sold to you. If you want to know more about this, please watch the BBC documentary called The Century of the Self, which is about Edward Bernays and the origins of public relations. So now it's like, how can I make everything in life so special so that life doesn't shock me and teach me about the places I need to grow? How can I adjust all of the other people around me to let them know what a fucking special case I am so that life does not jostle me the way that life is supposed to fucking jostle me? You're supposed to get jostled by life. Humans incarnated to encounter limitations and create conscious ways of going around them. If you're trying to reduce the amount of limitations in your life because you have now been told that you have special needs that require a different set of rules, like life is life. Life is life. This is just a way to sell you more shit. Neurodivergent people have always existed. There's nothing wrong with being neurodivergent. Every successful person I know is neurodivergent. My daughter probably, when she gets a little bit older, I'll say she's fucking neurodivergent too. It's just she's just a little bit more reasonable than my son is. But we need to stop fucking trying to make adjustments everywhere in life because you came to life to experience challenges. People that are neurotypical have challenges as well. You know why? It's really hard for them to say no. Neurodivergent people say no to everything much easier. Neurotypical people say yes to everything much easier. Neurotypical people might do better in society, but their standards will be inherently lower than a neurodivergent person. So everybody has things that are working for them and against them. And life is here to be your classroom so that you can grow. But stop trying to get other people to tune out the difficulties of your life. Stop trying to make your life a padded room where you won't encounter limitations. Throw yourself off the fucking cliff of difficulty. Pick the hardest path forwards. Thorns on the outside, roses on the inside. Get yourself into difficult situations. Sit in an ice bath, experience discomfort, and grow and grow and grow. Stop trying to make your life a padded room because TikTok told you you needed that. On date, oh, I gotta wrap it up here. We're gonna have to start doing some rapid fire questions here. I gotta stop answering TikTok questions because like I really gotta get this. I really gotta get this done. This person says, so who raped you again? Who didn't rape me, babe? Don't we want that to be the question? I grew up in a doomsday pedophile sex cult, hon. Duh. Who did it? Who didn't? Dumbass. On day 24 of the ritual, I'm committed to finishing, bought training access to a system for brokering all types of loans, lead generations. Seems like Fuckless is going to help me launch, but curious if autoerotic wealth or another course would be appropriate to start ASAP. Is there a problem with starting this course as I run the last 16 days of the ritual? So definitely not autoerotic wealth yet because autoerotic wealth is advanced business. And so we want to have a lot of data about how our products are doing before we start trying to scale these products. Additionally, Fuckless is going to teach you what the core offer needs to be, and you'll never know how your products are doing if you haven't figured out how to launch intelligently. So Fuckless is exactly how to launch intelligently, absolutely crucial for business, absolutely crucial for growth. Teaches you how to build a big red button in your business that says money so that you can tap that and get money anytime. If you are brand new, if you're doing mainly one-on-one work right now, you can do the express version of Fuckless. If you have a legit business cycle, business plan, then figuring out how to launch these offers over and over are really crucial. And I just need to look over this a little bit better. Yeah, even if lead generation and sales are a part of a marketing training that you're doing, but I will teach you authentic lead generation, authentic sales, and how to make content that's so good you don't need ads. That's what Fuckless is going to teach you. I feel like, oh, I'm so hot. I feel like I'm going to need well, so someone's here says, I just love that you don't coddle anyone. The reason why we don't is because we don't assume that people are too stupid to handle the truth. Like, I'm not here to waste your time. That's one of our core values of Safehouse is like, just give it to people straight. If you're assuming that someone is you're assuming that someone's too stupid to handle the truth, that says so much more about your worldview than their actual capability. I don't care if people like me. I don't care if people like me. I don't care. I literally don't care. What I want is for you to get a result. Mommy, I'm working on creating a one-on-one coaching offer, wondering how to get it accorded to people. My previous question, I mentioned that I don't want to do free sales calls. Was wondering if I could do a marketing funnel so people buy the coaching. Yeah. So no problem. I think I already answered this. For one-on-one, I think the Google Docs sales page is going to be the best for you. And we already answered that. So if you have any follow-up questions, let me just remind you where you can find me if you don't want to wait till next Friday. We have Tuesday, I'll be in the Enneagram. As long as you give me context, I don't mind if we put something there. I'm pretty sure you're an autoerotic. No, I don't think so. I don't know about enough about your business to say that you're an autoerotic. But Tuesdays on Enneagram, Fridays on Safehouse. I think she's got this just fine. She's going to be just fine. There's a lot of resistance to going into group. As a generator who loves to generate, I notice every time I make money, I spend it so I can get the high of making money. I don't know how to keep the same energy with money in my bank. Is this common or am I messed up? Well, you're not messed up, but it really just depends on what stage of business you're at, if you're in growth mode or profit mode. And so what I'm going to have you do is go over to ritual, scroll all the way down until you get to the lesson that says stages. It's like in the 30s somewhere. Watch that video. It's only 3 minutes long, and then read the FAQ on that as well. It just depends on it just depends on where you're at in business. If you're in growth mode, spend that money, queen. Hi, Anami. We chatted a bit about me finishing out Feckless and then returning to autoerotic. It's driving me nuts making content on social without knowing how to link my lead magnet to the audience. Did I miss this somewhere? Is that something we will go over in Feckless? I just want to start my email marketing and content courses and such all in place when I get it set up. So I might need to look over Fuckless again, but I'm pretty sure that at point two, lesson two, in the first 30 minutes of that call, we talk about what the email sequence needs to look like. So if you're just doing an easy launch, the lead magnet's in your bio, they sign up for the the lead magnet, and they get the marketing emails. So it's not like super complicated, but every piece of content that you post on social media should be directing people to go to that lead magnet. So those are really like the only pieces that you need. Content strategy, which is informed by the customer avatar, lead magnet, nurturing or marketing emails, same thing. And then the second piece of your lead magnet comes up in between proof and process. Process and proof, they go in that order on your marketing sequence. So if you need me to look over that, just put it in autoerotic, but those are the only pieces you need to do a launch for your first time. Marketing emails, lead magnet, the lead magnet sign up page, and a content strategy that's informed by the customer avatar and your human design if you're insecure about posting. How do I share my story so confidently? I mean, it's just the truth. Like, it's just the truth. But I think that what I've done is spend a lot of time getting comfortable with what the truth of the situation is. And now, like, it is what it is. My mom called me yesterday. I hadn't spoken to her in maybe like 6 months. I told her she'd call in case of an emergency. She definitely lost that right yesterday. But I wasn't I didn't feel upset about it. I just told my mom that we weren't going to be talking anymore, like for real, not in case of an emergency, not in case of anything. And I wasn't sad about it. I wasn't bummed about it. I didn't feel bad for her. I didn't anything. I just literally, it was like if you told me this is a brick, what you're holding in your hand is a brick, I'd be like, yeah, it's a brick. I completely accept it. I don't feel bad for the brick. I'm not trying to change the brick. I understand that the brick is the brick. I don't need it to be different than me. Its brickiness works for its bricky ass life. And to me, I think that that's just what like acceptance is. I'm at a place of acceptance with how my past informed my present and how my present is informing my future. And I don't want to change anything about it. Like I'm cool with it. So that confidence it's just the truth, but I accept what the truth of it is. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I'm not trying to say everyone did the best that they could. I'm just, I know what it is and I'm cool with that. Writing your life story into a book, writing your life story in a book will do that. What point on the Enneagram do you believe the world is at currently? So I actually am really into this question here. So I could never tell anyone where they're at on an Enneagram without knowing what it is that they're trying to accomplish because an Enneagram is an event. So, if we were like, okay, well, if this is an event of like birthing the new level of consciousness, we could map that out, but I'm not going to try and do it in my head right now. But if you want to know where consciousness is moving, it's much more useful to study spiral dynamics, which I did with Ken Wilber in his book, Theory of Everything. And then I worked with an integral coach. But here's something that I want to point out to you, which we talk about a lot in Mesoterica, is that it's very indicative of not being able to graduate to the next level when you're very focused on what the collective is doing. Like it doesn't matter what the collective is doing, and people that are at that last stage before graduating. And what they need is humility. Humility is the ability to recognize there's more for you to learn. But when you're so close to making this transition, but just not making that leap yet, you'll be super focused on the collective. How does the collective need to change? How does the collective need to wake up? Where is the whole collective stuck? What one thing would you make sure that the collective does? And it's like, fuck the collective. You need to recognize that you're the type of person that wants to change the collective instead of looking in the mirror, facing the fact that they have problems and fix the one person that you can do anything about. So that's the deal. But spiral dynamics is really good for that. I love spiral dynamics. And I think that I was kind of, I'll just tell you this as well. I was kind of interested in I was kind of hoping that Kamala Harris, well, I didn't really have any preferences, but if Kamala Harris was going to be voted president, she would point out the flaws with the current way of thinking, which is the green meme. She would point out the flaws in that really fast. Donald Trump kind of represents an older way of thinking, and he's going to be pointing out all the flaws with that. So, as far as going from the green meme to like the next meme of consciousness, I felt like there's no moving backwards. Like consciousness is always going forward, but we're going to need 4 years of Trump to really show us that, like, look, the old way is not the solution. Like getting rid of genders is not, or getting rid of transgender options on paperwork and stuff. It's not the way. We've made progress and we can't just erase it. We're not going back in consciousness. So, who am I to question the will of the gods? But obviously, the collective needs another moment of being like, look, we need to go forward into some new thinking. And that's why Trump was elected, so that he could point out the flaws in that. If Kamala Harris had been elected right now, she would point out the flaws and being like, look, it can't just be a free for all. And this like free for all, like everybody come in, there's space for everybody at the table as long as you think like us, as long as you act like this. They called the green meme in Spiral Dynamics the mean green meme because it is actually so mean under the guise of being very peaceful and very loving and we love everybody and everybody can come and sit with us. Like that's not actually how it goes. So but consciousness is always moving forward and you never have to be concerned about consciousness. Cool stuff though, right? Why can I understand you? Well, actually, I can tell you why. I feel like I have super simple criteria for finding a teacher. Have they been where you want to go? Like, do they know something that you don't know, or have they accomplished something that you want to do? Do they speak your language? Like, do they speak your language? When I speak, you understand the words. I'm not speaking in like riddles and stuff. And you'll see people in the comments a lot that are saying, this is just word salad. This is just gibberish. Like, they don't speak this language yet. It's an advanced language. They're not stupid, but it's hidden in plain sight. So it's like reading the Bible. You'll take it completely literally unless you know the code. And so, but you get to a certain point where you understand this language, you're picking up what I'm putting down. So if they're speaking your language, but if they were at a level above you, it would seem like riddles and you'd want to impress that teacher. So you wouldn't be able to be like, I don't know what the fuck you're saying because you wouldn't want to be disrespectful. So, and then the last piece is, can you afford that teacher? Because time, money, and space always work together. So if a teacher is out of your budget, you're not supposed to work with them right now. So the budget that you need to work with me is $2,000 for 1 year or $200 a month. You save $400 if you do the year. But that's my criteria, and you can decide if that's a fit for you or not. It's a good time to plug Safehouse. You guys, my husband and I run an occult business school called Safehouse. All of the questions that you're hearing today, that you've heard today, have come from our students within Safehouse. We have questions every single Friday. You get a response from me every single Friday without fail. Safe House is a combination of all of my workshops, but we act as your guidance counselors. So when you enroll as a student, you get our information and we run you through an onboarding system where we figure out what your goals are and what workshops you're going to need first to make sure that you can reach that goal. We'll get a look at you, we'll get a look at your business, and we'll start you in on whatever workshop or workshops would get you the result in the place that you want it the most. So you're not getting dumped into a school and saying, figure it out. We're showing you around, and then we will continue that conversation in Q&A each and every Friday. It has driven me crazy for a long time that coaching costs what it costs. And so the whole mission of Safe House was to make the one-on-one experience more accessible to people of all budgets. And I feel really good about the service that we deliver. If $200 a month is out of your price range, you have money blocks. You have money blocks, especially in 2024, because $200 unless you're at Safehouse, doesn't get you very much in 2024. So if you can't swing an extra $200 a month, like you have money blocks, and the first workshop we would absolutely have you do is ritual. Feel free to wait on that. But if you're like, I want to do this school, but financially it's out of reach for me, I want you to put on your vision board that January 1st, I'm going to be doing Safehouse, because that's when we'll be doing ritual live together. And all through the month of December, you guys will hear about money blocks and be able to work with that. So all you need to do is find some way to squirrel away $400 for those first 2 months of Safe House. If you can get through that 40-day practice, your money situation will be very different. We can talk about it after that. I've decided to do I have three more questions. I've decided to do human design readings for my one-on-one product, and I'm in online school right now. I want to provide a text copy of the reading as a product. That product exists. Okay, so I don't see a question here. Oh, right. Okay, cool. I'm obviously really curious, but if you think that's a time to sync, yeah, that sounds great to me. I don't actually see any question in here, but the game plan sounds great. So I say, yeah, do it. And if you're doing human design, I really recommend, especially for your content strategy, looking for a niche. So what is it about human design that you love the most? Like, I focus on three areas: human design for marketing, human design for parenting, and human design for nutrition. Those are like my three areas. I don't care about like any other part of human design. But when you have a niche for human design, it's really easy to make content, and it's also really easy for customers to find you. I think that's something that I'm going to have to do with magic. Okay, is this my last question? Okay, almost my last question. I have some really long questions here, which is usually fine. My actual question: my brother's going through psychosis, and my family's begun getting really worried. I have less of a fear because I can recognize it, but action still needs to be taken. Any advice on approach discussion topics to get him clear and grounded and away from his abusive partner? So, this is a lesson that it took me way too long to learn, but your parents, first of all, you're away from the situation right now, and there's nothing that you can do. There's literally nothing that you can do. Now, when people are with an abusive partner, the only thing that can get them away from that partner is for you to be responsive with love. You try and break up somebody that's with someone, they're going to stay with them out of spite. Now, when it comes to psychosis, it's hard because once somebody's in psychosis, everything that they do is like being scrutinized. I really feel like what people need the most is space, unless they're asking for more. Because crowding somebody that's in a state, can I help you? Are you feeling okay? You seem a little weird. Like, it just makes it so much worse. And so, like, is there a way that you can send them all of the love without trying to change what's going on with them? Like, he's a big guy. He's going to figure this out for himself, but you can't change your family. Like, your family's here to teach you about acceptance. And I feel like they don't want advice. They don't want your help. They just want your love. They just want your love. And sometimes there's this poem, like, I wouldn't coax, is called Woman with Flowers by Naomi Long Madgett. I don't know. Let me actually pull this up here because I would love, well, let me see if I can memorize it. I wouldn't coax the plant if I were you. Such watchful nurturing might do it harm. Give it space to find the sunlight for itself. The seed is inclined to find its own direction. Much can be harmed by too much watering, too much tenderness. The things we love, we have to learn to leave alone. The things we love, you have to learn to leave alone. I had this poem as a background on my phone for literally 3 months because I said, that can't be right. That last line can't be right. That last line can't be right. I would recommend making this the background on your phone and being with it. I'm sorry that that's happening to your brother, but recognize that it's happening to your brother and it's not happening to you. Recognize that it's happening to your brother and not happening to you. The best thing that you can do is be there for them in response, especially as a generator, because a lot of times, especially when someone's in psychosis, are you okay? Are you doing okay? You're acting a little weird, or like what Instagram does. Someone somewhere is worried about your mental health. It actually just makes it so much worse. The things we love, we have to learn to leave alone. Okay, almost done. Let me find the question here. Love to know what your social media strategy is. 10%. Okay. So I think that that's the question. So So my social media strategy across all platforms is make the content that I wish existed. Now, if you're a photographer, you need to make the content that you wish existed. And if you wish more innovative wedding photography existed, or more innovative portraiture, or more whatever, you need to show people what you wish existed on the algorithm. And if that means that you have to do it with test subjects and not your current clients, then so be it. But in your personal brand, there's always space for everything. Whoops, under one roof. Actually, let me see. I'm going to have to come back to this person's question because I don't want to ruin it. Okay, last questions here. These last questions are long, and so I really want to give people time to actually, be able to read what it is that they're asking me. So I am going to wrap this Q&A up. I want to thank you all so much for being here. I need to make sure that I give these people a proper response. And if it's reading 3 paragraphs of somebody else talking, on social media, I'm literally we're all going to be feeling a little bit homicidal. So, in order to give my students the recognition and the attention that they deserve here while we figure out a process for making sure that the questions in Q&A are actually questions, I will be signing off here for today. So, love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. I had a really good time here. I will see you guys next week for Q&A, and we will see you then. Love you. Love you. Nighty night, everybody.